It's processing. All right, we are live. It's processing. Okay. Hello, welcome everybody. This is New York Institute of Technology. All right, we are live. It's processing. Hello, welcome everybody. This is New York Institute of Technology. Okay, sorry, I had some feedback, so I had to turn off the browser. Welcome everybody. This is New York Institute of Technology, School of Architecture and Design, MS in Architecture, Computational Technologies, and today we have our second lecture within our spring semester lecture series. And we have the honor of having here Jorge Orozco, who is going to show us a special project working with artificial intelligence and web scraping and some kind of way of searching information online. So he's going to explain a little bit more precisely what the project is about. But I'm going to proceed to introduce Jorge more formally, and then we're going to proceed for his presentation. The lecture series, just to make a quick introduction about the lecture series, the MS ACT lecture series is called Inform Actualizations from AI to Physical Computation. And the lecture series aims at discussing research framed by invited guest speakers and focusing on architecture expanding relationship between science, technology, and culture through innovations in algorithms, simulations, AI, robotics, fabrications, and material. The Spring 2022 lecture series discusses alternative means to understand the dialectic between the ideal digital and the physical digital. Within an architecture of information, AI, robotics, and materials are thought as actualization interfaces. This process understands information flows and their actualizations as a form of architecture. Today we have Jorge Orozco, who's a doctorate in architecture from ETHZ Zurich, the presentation is called, where do I have the title of the presentation? Panoramas of Cinemas, Image Search. AI-powered search engines like Google Search deal with information in large quantities and in real time. These generic applications create spectrums of possible answers and help the user to navigate and make decisions on a vast sea of information. Architectural articulations from many places and times are part of this abundance: images, text, videos, 3D models, drawings. A novel memory of architecture is online, available at the fingertips. How is this global memory informing today's architectural decisions? What is at stake when thinking of generic search engines as personal instruments for new architectures? This talk will present Panoramas of Cinema, an open search engine tailored to a personal collection of movies curious about architecture. Panoramas of Cinema explores the qualifications of spaces by implementing machine learning techniques on millions of images, clips, and dialogues extracted from movies. It will further introduce Studio Meteora, a research-driven design studio that aims to bring online information into architectural proportions. The website is panoramasofcinema.ch/search. Jorge, just to briefly introduce you formally, Jorge is a senior researcher and lecturer based in the Digital Architectonics groups at the ETHZ Zurich Department of Architecture, and a guest lecturer at the Department of Architecture Theory and Philosophy of Techniques in TU Vienna. He's interested in the world of architecture online, its images, movies, and text, and in the machine intelligence that deals with it. Jorge writes and codes on the challenges and fictions that this novel interplay presents in architecture theory and practice today. Jorge was a guest researcher at the Future Cities Laboratories in Singapore. He obtained a Doctor in Science degree and a Master in Advanced Studies degree from ETHZ Zurich and a Master of Advanced Architecture degree with specializations in Digital Tectonics from IAC Barcelona. He graduated from the UMSNH Faculty of Architecture in Mexico. I happen to know Jorge for a while now, and I have always been interested in his very different approach to computation, and also to machine intelligence. So I'm very happy to have Jorge today joining us. So thank you, Jorge, for being with us, and thank you for your time. Please welcome to NYIT.
Thank you, Pablo. Thank you, Pablo, for the invitation, for the introduction. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I think I will share my screen. Sound. Right. So I think one of the ideas that one of the main ideas that I want to share with you is what happens, and already Pablo mentioned this during the introduction. What happens when we start thinking these generic tools as search engines, content sharing platforms, and social networks? What happens when we start mimicking them and take them and make them personal and make one little but very promising step from thinking about them as tools to instruments? So instruments that have a different qualities than a tool and have different outputs and require different relationship between the user, between the hand, between the human and the tool itself or the instrument. So this is one of the motivations of my work, and something that probably will keep coming in the next 25 minutes. And probably for just talking a bit more about just to addressing more indexes around my interest and the context of my work, I would briefly like to tell you the story of my PhD. It's not that recent, but nevertheless, I think it's already very valid in terms of what I'm doing, what I want to do, and what are my ambitions with developing these instruments. So it was a basic research project, which means that it didn't have a direct application, and it dealt with the global network, with all the world covered by computers talking to each other, and the techniques and the tools for navigating that all that information almost in real time. So for me, that was fascinating, because I said, okay, if I'm an architect, I am an architect, and I am in principle interested in bringing something new or something novel to the building environment, or to not only to the building, but to the ideas that are around how to put two bricks together. So what happens when we have all this YouTube, when I have all the theories online, we have all the software that I use is free of charge. There are all these tutorials. We have all the projects that are building all the built environment. So we have everything on a web browser or on a computer. What happens then? What's there to be an architect then in the 21st century for me? So we can think about it as well now with a little bit of distance as a proto treatise, this research that I did. So I stepped into contemporary architectural discourses to ask around, metaphorically, of course, to ask around what do they think about the internet, what do they think about search engine, what do they think about the online translation, talking about with theories, contemporary theories, Kohlhaas, Eisenman, Schumacher, and so on. So then what I got at the end as a reply from them was not very insightful. So I turned to the online applications that were really good at that, and I directly went to study to be with web search engines, with online translation, with content sharing platforms, and start to understand what they do and how they do it in a very abstract, theoretical, philosophical, and a little bit of mathematical way. And I tried to combine these two discourses with short, small application, crawling, sourcing the web, modeling, indexing, in applying some, at the time, now it's called classical machine learning algorithms. So this has been my work, my interest for the last years. And for today, I want to briefly introduce you to two projects, Panoramas of Cinema. And Panoramas of Cinema, as Pablo mentioned, is an open search engine tailored to a personal collection of movies. So, of course, in order to work with machine learning, we need a lot of observations. And the world that I'm observing, the private collection or the information, the data that I care about is movies. So it's a videotheque. As of now, there are around 1,300 movies from which I extract more than 2 million images and around 5 million dialogue lines. So the database, the videotheque started with 200 movies, and it just grows. It just started growing. It grows with no apparent reason. So it goes for decades. It crosses nations, actors, directors, genre. It's just in a way just asking what to be included itself. So if I am to tell you what happens with these 1,300 movies and growing, so in order for me to start implementing AI and so on, so the first step is, of course, since it is a continuous story, a movie, to start to discretize it, to start to identify chunks that are kind of available. So a movie can be, I tried with many techniques of discretizing the movie. Every time that there's a shot, so the scenes are composed by shots, so every time the camera is caught and it's moving around. Another way to discretize it is when someone is talking, or every timestamp, every 10 seconds, every 8 seconds. So the trick here is not to be too redundant and not to omit certain interesting imaginary that the movie is sharing. In terms of the dialogues, that's quite fairly straightforward at the moment, because most of the movies, they have the subtitles, so it's just a file that you can start crawling, that you source from the internet, and you can start modifying it. You can start make operations on it. So if then you have 1,300 images from which 1,300 movies from which more than 2 million images are extracted. So I start to implement pre-trained models. For example, identifying places. So models like Places CNN that I believe is trained in the dataset Places 365 with PyTorch framework, from which then I extract label and confidence values, from 0 to 1. How was the probability of in this case, an aqueduct or a bridge to be really on the screen? I identify as well objects with another pre-trained models, and as well extracting labels and confidences, faces as well, which in principle is relevant if you are interested in space, then you want to have the option to omit faces or to omit bodies or to make them part of your search. Colors, very simple models, constant models, and structures, which is basically the main patterns and the main gestures of an image that is decoupled from what it means or what is depicted in it and the colors themselves. So I also implement custom-made algorithms, custom-made models for the text. So for here, what I mostly do is it depends what I do. There are various things. It depends on the task at hand, but to learn topics which are abstract generalization of the words, of what a movie is talking about, what the scene is talking about, or what a character itself is talking about. Models, very simple models. Their frequency, inverse direct frequency, bag of words with frameworks like the self-organizing map and Gensim, and as outputs, of course, vectors in this case. And in this model, for example, if you take all the dialogues of one movie, then you create a model that tells you what's the topic of the movie. Then instantly you can identify, for example, which movie is similar to which in terms of what they are saying, in terms of their dialogues. What is very interesting, and I think this is when it starts getting, it's making a major step towards what I would call it instrumentality, is when I have the ability to start searching with different scales. So I can ask a question to the whole videotheque, or I can ask a question to the characters that are engendered within the videotheque, which is basically a collection of movies within the videotheque that are in a way similar to each other, or that are talking about similar things. This creation of characters can be, on the one hand, automated, so can be the algorithms can tell you which movies are similar to each other and form a character, or can allow you to play with the scalarity of the searches, or you can do it, or I can do it manually, following certain intuition, or following certain question, following certain ambition. For example, one of the characters of the videotheque that I call Italica are all the movies from Pasolini, Fellini, Antonioni, and friends. So movies, Italian movies from the 60s to the 80s, a little bit more. So movies like 8½, Acatone, La Notte, La Strada, The Passenger, and so on. And what we see in the left, for example, is just all the frames of that character of these movies clustered in 16 groups. And clustered in 16 groups according to their colors and their structures. And on the right side, you can take a small sample of one little cluster, and then you see how similar the images are only within this character and this creation of the character. Something else that I believe is also interesting to look at and start to put in against a notion or definition of an instrument is the moment that when you can start naming things by yourself. So this is basically technically it's just a tag system where users start searching for things starting from these tags, from these labels that I just showed you. So asking for an airplane, or asking for a river, or a bathroom, or a corridor. But sometimes the user the user has a question that is beyond the definition of a place, or that is beyond the definition of an object. So here the users have the ability to create their own categories. So, for example, here the user Pygmalion, they have tagged almost 900 images, and they have named them as ballroom, as entrance, or curtain, or corridor, which are kind of they are tags that instantly we can relate to a certain space or to a certain visual. But there are some tags, for example, suspension, or unity, or silent echo. So these are then words that are, these tags then make groups of images that are showing what a suspension may be for the position of the Pygmalion. And one of the other abilities that I offer that is constructed within this application is the creation of panoramic views of these tags. For example, on the right hand, we can see a panoramic view of images of the tag suspension from the user Pygmalion. So there's no way that the original tags that are predefined when I do this heavy machine learning implementation can come up with with these results. So this is very interesting, because then the labels and the tags that are trained are following certain generic understanding of things, which is very useful sometimes, but sometimes what you are showing has a different name. So I find this super interesting. Again, I find it super interesting and important, where we are trying to make a distinction between what is a generic tool and what is a personal instrument. And then of course you can create panoramic views of these tags as big as you can. But what becomes here interesting is that it becomes like a mood. Huh? So then you get here the mood of the weather of these images, and not exactly what one single individual image is showing. Panoramas of cinema.ch /search. It's online, and this how the early decisions that I made to put this online. I have a very straightforward backend with HTTP calls, and then you get back some JSON files. And the front end, I'm using Jupyter Notebook and Binder online, so everything is online. There's no computing running on the user side. And this distinction that I find it so interesting, because the moment that you start working with APIs and server calls, then the face or how you render the searches it's open. So many websites can just attach to my server, make queries as I design the API, and things can start appearing with different faces and in different places. I find this super beautiful. So just to say one more time, the abilities that this instrument online has is I make image search, again multi-scalar. I can do it through the whole videotheque, to the characters, or to one movie individually. Video search, text search, the tag system that allows the user to start defining things in their own terms, which I believe is super important, and a panorama creator, which are these panoramic views of images constructed following the tags and following the users and the combination of them. So maybe I can show you very fast. How am I with time? Oh, wow. I can show you then super fast. Okay, so Panoramas of Cinema, search engine, and funny.
So probably soon.
The internet is. Okay, I can try. Ah, wow.
It's the Zoom that captures all the bandwidth, you know?
In principle, I have, wow, it's the first time it happens. Incredible. Okay, maybe I cannot.
I think it may be just Zoom that.
Okay, I have it as well on the local server, on a local server, but I wanted to show you. I will try to come back to this. Okay, so I can show you how you get to this point. That is just a Jupyter notebook running on the web using Binder, and if we just do so we can make queries to the whole videotheque search, and then these are the places that you can start asking for. Bull ring, you copy paste bull ring, you put it on the on the search bar, click search, and then you have a bull ring. As simple as this. So you have a corridor, search. You can combine the places with the objects. For example, we can ask for a chair in a corridor. And voila. You can play with the confidence levels. As you know, the confidence levels are just the probability of something to happen or not. So this is super interesting because I see this conceptually as searching and exploring, because if you know what you're looking for, then you go directly to the one. But if you don't know what's going on, but you have a certain intuition, or you are thinking about an image that may share certain characteristics of, for example, a corridor, then you go to explore, and then you will not find a corridor, but then you will find images with certain flair of taste of a corridor. For example, if you can then change the confidence level of the chairs and so on. You search for the images, you search for the text. Again, you search in different scales. If you ask for the whole videotheque, then you get the results of the subtitles. You can ask to characters. These characters are made with AI. So for example, the character Solaris Mon Amour, so then it has these movies, and Equilibrium for an Old Boy has these movies, and so on. What I find very interesting here is that when you ask the same question to different characters, the answers turn slightly, they are slightly different. For example, now I'm not sure if I can show you this, but I know that it's like this. So going south, in one character, south takes the dominance of the speech, and on the other one, maybe south takes the dominance of the speech. And it's because you're asking to different persons, you're asking to different characters, you're playing with the scalarity of the instrument. So if you want to get, for example, the clip of this dialogue, the insider, I did 3 minutes on, you want to see it, where are you going? I've been banished, and so on. You scroll up.
Hello? I decided to press the Sunday show. I did 3 minutes on the evening news. You'll want to see it. Where are you going? You've been banished.
Where are you going? I'm going south. So then you can get the clip of the dialogue. You can get the clip as well of these images. Let me just, for example, say this. You click on the image, you click on play, and you get the clip from which this image was extracted. You get as well the image in the highest definition possible. And what is super cool here, I find it amazing, is that you just drag it to your desktop and back, you have it here. The same story with the video. You just download it to your desktop, and then you have it here. Oops. And then this is super cool, because then if you are, for example, working on a video that I would like to show you this very fast as well, you can use some matter of dragging and dropping, because it's already there, already encoded for most of the video editors. So you search images, you search text, you get the images, you get the clips. The tag system is here. If you like one image, you just click on the image, you go down, and then my user, Jorge, I say New York IT, add the tag, it's added. I will just add a few more just for show you. You can make different queries, continue making questions, continue asking for things, trying to find images that may answer your question. You say yes, this is good. You tag it. This is good as well. You tag it, and here you can make as well. A search based on the users and based on the tags. For example, if you type Jorge, you get here that I have worked on many tags, and then now I think I just did this one, New York IT. It's okay. I want to see what's going on. Show, and here it is. You can delete as well, of course. Delete. Yes. So maybe very fast. The one that works with different scale with the characters. I have some characters here, Meteoras French, which are basically my favorite directors, Greenaway, Tarantino, Fincher, Guadagnino. You get a navigation map, as I call it, all the frames clustered according to the colors and the structures, the structure of the image. You just click on one cluster and you start navigating. As you can see, these are very dark, and then they are dark with certain texture and with certain structure. And then this is just for navigation. Imagine just like when you are on sailing, you can make direct search, like I already show you, car interiors, canyons, living rooms, and so on, handbags, cows, and all the rest. Basically, the functionality is the same, just you're asking to a different, to a character, or you ask to a specific movie. Same story, you show the map, you start navigating. And same story to create the panoramas, as I showed you before. These panoramas are based on the tag system. Click create panorama, you give certain parameters, how big you want it, the orientation of the paper, and so on. And then this implements a very basic dimensionality reduction algorithm, just to take all these vectors and make them two, and so super simple and super fast, and so on. And everything is on the cloud. So this is Panoramas of Cinema. I don't know, Pablo, if I have like 10 more minutes to show you. Great, because for me it's very interesting for my work to always, I mean, I like computers, but I don't trust them that much. So I am always trying to conserve and to exercise a delicate, what I call a delicate balance between what is human intelligence and what is machine intelligence. So for me, it's super important to have these tools, because I feel that I can say what I want to say by looking at a lot. But at the end of this, but I need in my work and the work that I do with my colleagues and with the students is always as important as to have a machine running, then to have a good narrative, then to have a good idea, then to have something that is challenging something. So for me, all these instruments are beautiful, but if you don't play them, then something is missing. So very fast, I want to show you the work that we have been doing for the last almost 3 years. It's going to be 3 years, more than 2 years. Studio Meteora here at the Department of Architecture of ETHZ. This in close collaboration with my colleagues Miro Roman and Ali Bokhari, and it's a research-driven studio. It's a design studio from the Department of Architecture, and it really works on the idea that architecture is always talking to the world. We have done 6 semesters on global issues, as we call them: nature in crisis, the lack of free speech, the faceless financial powers, how to treat cultural heritage, feminism, xenofeminism, actually, privacy, and so on. Our projects have remodeled places in Madrid and Zurich, Paris, Vienna, Bordeaux, and now in Brussels. All the projects, 80 at the moment, and more to come, are all in meteora.ch. You can check them out. And our studio heavily relies in millions of observations, and heavily relies in the search engine. So this search engine that I just showed you is just one of 3 search engines that we use in the studio. We have by Miro Roman, he's working with books, and he has a collection of 1,500 books about architecture theory, philosophy, mathematics, and interesting books with interesting, compelling ideas. No, and then the work that my colleague Adi Bokhari is doing, this is on the making, but it's crawling 50,000 3D models, and with their own search engine. So this is what we call it: big data and artificial intelligence. So how we do every semester, we have a brief on this global issue, and we have 3 basic episodes. The first episode, each student writes a text. So it's writing architecture with the voice of 1,500 books. So this is just a small example. If you can see on one of the little pages, so a 2,000 word document with 70 quotations. So and then this text is talking about what the project should be about, what's important, what's relevant towards the brief, and what the student wants to say. And the similar story, yeah. Then once we have the text, we go with the images, and with the images we start showing, okay, now I have an idea of what's going on. Now I need to show how the spaces may look like, what are the proportions, what are the colors, what are the objects. And this is how we treat the images. And on the other hand, we create videos, we make videos to find the narrative, to make a project, to bring sense to the project. So we tell story and we start showing how things may look like. And finally, at the third episode, we stage architecture with 15,000 models, Unity and Blender, 15,000 models just staged. We have a text, we have an image, how it should look. We place a camera in Unity or Blender, and we just start dropping 3D models that someone modeled that, again, with AI, trying to search for the most interesting things and so on. So at the end of the semester, we have very interesting presentation. You can check them out on YouTube and on our YouTube channel. All the projects are on meteora.ch, and I think I can finish with this. Meteora.ch. Oh, this is from the last season. Season and genderings that we were talking about, xenofeminism, what is it to be a human, and all of these are projects. This is the last season, the previous 4 seasons, and here you have at the top. Usually, we have the latest work, the work that was presented. And the more you scroll down, the things get less resolution, that gets fuzzy, and then you can start looking at the process, you can start looking at the references, and we just keep everything there because we like to deal with a lot. So I think I can finish with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Jorge. Very interesting research, and I appreciate not only your time but your creativity in looking at alternative ways of understanding architecture. One of the I wonder, there are maybe 2 or 3 comments. I wish I would have invited you last semester, because last semester we were actually working with the first semester in our program deals with machine intelligence, artificial intelligence, machine learning, supervised and non-supervised. And we work, last semester in particular, we work with point clouds, right? Articulating with different point clouds, what could be a possibility for architecture. So it's very interesting, your presentation in relationship to that, because we also work with API and web scraping, combining things, thinking about an architecture of information in ways of expanding the notions. And we had some students working, for instance, with repositories of museums. Another student was working with expanding text, perhaps not at the level of sophistication that you're showing, because it's their first time that they're working on that, but very related issues. So I think it's great to have you presenting on that. I just wonder, do you have because in the panoramas of images, you didn't show one movie made out of all these collections. Do you have one sample that you can show us?
Of course, with pleasure. I mean,
it's very interesting, very clever, and intelligent the way that you are able to sort of select with the notebook how you can articulate these things. But I wish. Do you have one example, like for instance, like very fast clips, something that we can see how it performs as a combined clip?
Yes, as clip, it is very important. I will show you with pleasure. But it's very important here to realize, to tell you.
What I am understanding is that you're doing like the architecture of cinema, like a movie director, automated, right? That's the objective, right?
It is not. So this is important to point out that it is not automated.
It's you're tagging manually, right?
Yes. So the editing is, so all the collection of the images is of course through the machines, but the moment of dragging and dropping is done by the student in close collaboration. I would still like to show you one. Usually we are following the techniques of Hollywood's movie trailers. I think they're very important because the movie trailers in 2 minutes they tell you what is at stake. So they tell you who is the character, what is at stake, and how it may be solved, the problem. So it's not giving away anything, it's just enticing, it's just giving you some hints of, okay, now you need to look at the project. So then I will show you very fast this project. It's called the Vampire Skis. And in this season, we were remodeling a block in front of Notre Dame for Elizabeth Murdoch, who was getting the empire all this money and so on. And then she wanted to, the task was to remodel a block so she can have a face to the city, she can have a face to the world. So this is what Marius came up with. It's one of my favorite videos.
Elizabeth, I always think of you. When I eat, drink, sleep, or whatever I do, my thoughts are with you. But if I cannot have you, no one will. I will hunt you down.
So for this project, maybe now it will resonate more. For this project, Elizabeth was a vampire, and she was killing she was seducing and killing young architects, and then cooking their bodies and building a restaurant at the top of this block. So I think there are this moment of mystery and the young men and the grotesqueness and so on. So these are kind of the, in terms of video, this is what we want to show. And as you can see now, this is not about the space. So this video is not about the space. It's not about how it should look like. It's about if things make sense or not, which is it's a different take when we are working with the images and we're creating catalogs, and then we are directly saying first level, red carpet, these proportions, these objects, this temperament, this is cold, is warm, this is in this or that. So this is one of the exercise, one of the short exercise in 12 weeks that the students do in 12 weeks hard work.
What's very interesting is that your interface or your way of working is actually I would argue it's more real than what I thought it would be. Like actually it's like something that you can use now. Like for instance, if I was a cinema director, I mean, your instrument is like an amazing platform to be able to start, not automate, but to actually to play a movie director kind of thing. I mean, I don't know if you saw this documentary by Woody Allen and how he does the movies himself, right? He's with a laptop. He's himself 1 year with one laptop and one assistant. That's it. You know, that's entire studio, right? It's like really crazy. And he has obviously a talent and an ability to be able to complete in 1 year of one film. But I imagine that your way of developing these tools and these search engines, that is everything is online, as you said, gives you the ability to be able to play very fast with these things. Do you envision a version 0.2 in which this is automated, or you're not interested in that? Because you were talking about the difference between machine, the humanistic side and the mechanic side. What would you think about that?
I have no problems with actually. No, I have no problems with the production of the automated production of the machine. So what makes me a little bit uncomfortable is the moment there's nothing else. That's it. Like there's a video and the video was produced. So this video could have been produced by the machine as much as I care. But since this video is reflecting on a building, is reflecting on a brief, is working with text, is working with images, then this video takes certain value. So the only reason why I don't have it now is because it's a very sophisticated process. So it's very difficult. It's like how I imagine it is like when you're landing an airplane. So this moment of putting clips next to each other, so it's the pilot, they go up and they put the automated, and then all the machines are doing anything, but the last 20 minutes they need to do it. So there's this contact pointage. So as far as I'm concerned, they can do it. No, I mean, machine can produce such a video, but this cannot be the whole everything. So we need to tell more. Need to have a narrative. Need to have a story. Need to have an ambition and a direction, a position of the architect. So I hope I can in the next years I can develop such applications, because they can be also very interesting in many ways. Definitely, I'm open for that.
The students may have some questions. Anybody?
Just interested in knowing what inspired you. You're an architect and you've done your master's and PhD in architecture. So I'm just very curious, what made you take this approach towards this project? What inspired you to start this project?
I think what is so I care a lot about architecture. I care a lot about space. I care a lot about the ideas. So then what I felt was missing for me in my education, in my practice, is whenever we're starting a project, we obviously work with copies, with reference. We're always copying and we're always looking at everything, and we're trying to digest and to understand and to work with things that are there. But what I was finding very striking is that the reference in architecture, at least at the beginning, they can be very stiff, they can be very strong, they can be very loaded. So then at this moment I was wondering if I can say the same thing with 100 images, what I see in one masterpiece, for example. So you look at Las Meninas, and how many projects of architecture you have seen that has Las Meninas as a reference, for example. So then and then this was kind of my initial questions around, but it's too much, it's too loaded. Needs to be, in my imagination, needed to be light and fast, and it has to be open. When you're discussing all of these things, should accommodate one, and then the other one can leave. So I think it's around this, my interest is around these early stages of being an architect or being a creative persona that need to look at the world and see what makes sense to do at this point or not. So I think this is kind of my, and of course, as an architect, we have a very close relationship with cinema. So we love cinema. I mean, I think it is not an alien thing to say. So I saw like a fast click here. I just saw some ideas around that. Yeah.
I have a question. Thank you so much for the presentation. These projects are really interesting. I want on the website of Meteora to see a little bit what you have created with the students. And something drew my attention, which is these scenes or these models that are generated and that are kind of carrying this narrative of the generated text and films. Can you like explain more about this part of the project?
So I didn't catch which part, the third part with the scenes, with the 3D model. Yeah. In terms of design process, this is the last part. So then by that, we basically know everything. so we know what's the plot, what is the face of the plot, how the plot should look like, what are the rooms, where are the circulations, where are the temperaments, if the room needs to be bright, it needs to be dark, if it's eerie, if it is, so, and then everything, we have it in the text, written in the text, and with the images. So what we do, and with the video, so what we do at this point is, my colleague Adi leads this part. So then we have stages, Unity, a camera, as simple as this. So we have a camera, we have a song, we search for 3D models, and then we just start importing the 3D models, knowing what is it that we need to see. I mean, our heads is there, but it's just a matter of finding the right tuning in. And then it's a very beautiful, also very interesting moment because it has a different flavor, right? When you are working on one image for weeks. So this takes another kind of energy, another kind of attention, and another kind of understanding. It's just, you have one camera, you have one view, you say, okay, maybe I need to move it like this or like this, I need to add this, the light's not working, let's work with the pattern. And this is kind of the rituals almost of this third episode. I mean, and to tell you a little bit more about this, the whole studio is like this, huh? So it's always a cleaning, a rinsing, and let it dry. So analyze, synthetic, and make it fast, and again. Yeah, I don't know, something around that.
I have a question. It's regarding the, I mean, I was working on this computer vision last semester. So how do you store the database? I mean, how do you go about it? Like so many images, how do you do you store them, or I mean, what is the process for that?
So this backend is heavily relying on Amazon Web Services. So it's S3 buckets and this super cool database of theirs, relational database. There is not SQL, but everything is on their servers. All the computers are there. So all the I prepare the applications, I just upload the applications, and then they're running there. So nobody locally is doing anything. So all the images are saved there. All the apps are saved there, all the videos are saved, everything is online. So this is why somehow it works in principle smoothly everywhere.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. I was wondering how you got to the idea that it could be a search engine and not an application, whereas for a search engine you could have, like, you have a pathway to come up with a lot of applications. So how, I think it's like a genius idea to come up with a search engine and not the applications that you would be used for. So how did you?
So before I did this, so in the PhD, I did like 3-4 applications. So I did that exact. So I was scrolling and modeling and telling little stories and bits and pieces and this and that. But then when I was done with it, and I said, okay, what's next? Part of my conclusion was exactly what I'm doing now. I said, what is next? So what if instead of crawling the web, crawling Tumblr, which I was doing heavily at the time, like 10 years ago, Tumblr was a thing. So, okay, instead of sourcing the information from the world, generic information, what if I do it with the things that I care about? And always at the center of my research and my interest was the search engine and not the search engine and the ranking algorithm itself. So this for me, this is, I mean, I think for everybody. Yeah? So the web was there, but all these indexes were human maintained. So it was just until Google created this algorithm. So then everything, it was like a turn. So for me, conceptually, this is super strong. And I just said, I mean, people complain about Google, people complain about Facebook, and then I said, okay, I don't want to complain. I will just mimic them. So I just do the same. So now I have another application. I mean, there is a search engine, but just for an office. So I just crawled all OMA, and then now it's online. I'm tuning it, and it has also a recommender. So there's a recommender, and there's a search by image. So if you just upload one image, you get all the similar images from one office, and then you can just go like Pinterest, like tell me more, show me more, I think the concept of search engine is too important for me. I think for everybody. So I went for that. That's okay. Maybe I can do it as well, but not, yeah.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Jorge, so much. Great discussion, actually. Very interesting on this discussion, actually, on what is the relevance today about architecture. And I think that you're hitting on the search engine as a kind of structure that is organizing the world, right? And I think that it's great to see that your work is operating at that level. That's one of the issues that we want to continue discussing and continue researching in our program. So we thank you so much for your time and for joining us. Hopefully, I mean, we're going to invite you for reviews, but this semester we're working in fabrication, but we're going to try to invite you more on when we are actually dealing with more similar issues to the ones that you're mentioning. But thank you so much.
Thank you a lot, Pablo, for the invitation, for having me, and thank you guys for listening. Yeah. And I'm always online. Just follow me, follow us, Meteora. We're on Instagram and so on. If you have any questions, you just drop a line, and we take it from there.
Okay.
Thank you, Pablo. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much. We're going to post this video on our channels and then share